Morning, everybody. Welcome back to Words with Walner. Today, we're going to have a great show. And of course, we have Jon Walner, president of Walner Law. And we have a guest today. It's Mike Pekin from Cartiga. He is the president of Cartiga Lending. And welcome, Mike.
Thank you for having me. John, thank you.
Thanks for coming in. Appreciate you.
And John and I have a long-standing history, both personally and professionally. And I'm proud to have known him for a long time. I'm proud of all his accomplishments. And I'm thrilled to be here and proud to be not only a friend of his, but a colleague in business.
Yeah. How did you guys get introduced?
I think we maybe wrestled on the playground in kindergarten one day.
Is that right? Yeah.
And that's how far back we go.
All right.
And we went to law school together, and we were young lawyers together in the city, and we maintained a friendship all these years.
Great. When you wrestled, who won?
Probably John, because he's a little more aggressive than me.
You know why we have Michael here is that, well, first, our families have known each other since we were, well, I'm sure our dad, Michael's dad, was a president of a law firm called Pekin and Levin, who practiced solely personal injury law on behalf of plaintiffs. And my dad ran Harvey L. Walner Associates Limited, a practice solely devoted to the representative of plaintiffs injured in an accident. So we both grew up in the same way. Both were living in the houses of personal injury lawyers, whereas both Mike and I were indoctrinated by our families. Like, my father thought he was against the world, all these corporate law firms looking down on personal injury lawyers. He's trying to serve the community. As we've talked in previous editions, my dad's mom died when he was 4 years old. He grew up on the west side on a Costner and just south of the 290 Expressway. But there was no 290 Expressway. He grew up very poor. His dad didn't speak English. And his father went door to door and sold clothes. And my father would have to go along interpreting. This is like a 6-year-old. He'd have to go around like this. He lived in the living room on furniture. They didn't have a bed. Very poor family. He didn't have the ability like other kids to socialize through their mom making dates for the kids to meet each other. After school activities was his mother would take him home or talk to him. And he grew up in a rough neighborhood. It got rougher and rougher and rougher. And his family then moved to Rogers Park. The community was a decimated community. But through that, he met all, as we were talking with Andrew Stroth in our previous conversations about decimated communities, black and brown communities with no resources to help them get ahead in life. My dad grew up with all these people. He went to grammar school with them and high school, so he was ingrained in the community of being compassionate to others. He himself had no guidance, no mother, and he learned from other people's families what it's like to raise a family with the matriarchal hierarchy. So now Mike and I grew up in the same way, homes of personal injury lawyers. We went to grammar school together, obviously middle school, high school, and then we went to law school together. Mike and I live within a half a mile of each other. We went to a grammar school. There's only 40 kids in a class, 20 kids in one class, 20 kids in another. It was a small building. It was called the John F. Kennedy Grammar School. Kennedy was assassinated right when Mike and I were born. And so we're going at 4 or 5 years old to a brand new school named after the President of the United States of America. So I started working for my dad at a young age. God, I had to be in 6th grade where I would go and help out in the offices on Saturday. And when I had my driver's license when I was 16, I would go to the clients' houses and give them their money, or I'd get a contract signed by them. And I'm going to the worst slums in Chicago, meeting these people. So I am ingrained at a young age, meeting people that are disadvantaged, have no shot at an even keel against society, against big insurance companies, big corporations, how they didn't get recompensated for their injuries in life without a fighter like me that knows where they're coming from. But Michael and I were both given an opportunity, how long ago, Mike? About 20 years ago, to run a company together to start a legal lending company in Chicago through our friend Mark Filler. Is a common friend of Mike and I. He went to Harvard Law School, and he asked Mike and I, he had some money behind him to start a legal lending company for which we would be successful in, because we knew all about the values of personal injury cases and how much loans could sustain on the recovery. Mike went on to become the president of Oasis Legal Financing. I thought my life was good as was well. I didn't want to leave this legacy my father started and go somewhere else. Did I make the wrong decisions? You never know in life. There was so much money, of course, in legal lending. There was no legal lending when Mike and I started out as lawyers, and the clients would be devastated economically. Where could they turn to get food? They have no jobs. They're so injured they can't work. They can't support their family. They can't pay the rent, the mortgage, groceries, gasoline. And the clients had no way to get money. They would want to settle faster because they had nowhere to turn to other than this case. Mike has leveled the playing field. He was I believe, the second firm that came into the city of Chicago of 6 million people, giving people an economic even keel, evening the field between lawyer and insurance company, client and insurance company. So Mike and I understand each other. We grew up the same way. We love each other, root for each other's families, our children. And who am I going to turn to other than Mike Pekin and Momentum Legal Finance, which is now called
Cartiga.
Cartiga. So my clients are blessed to have Michael Pekin in their life, Cartiga, Momentum on their side, leveling the playing field against multi-billion-dollar corporations and insurance companies.
All right, so we know that certainly legal lending on a simple form is borrowing money when you have a case. But can you maybe define that just a little bit more for the audience, like why somebody needs to work with a company like Cartiga?
Sure. I think it's important to note that many of the clients that get injured in accidents are lower income, have blue-collar jobs. They live paycheck to paycheck. They didn't grow up with privilege. They get involved in an accident. They miss time from work. They have medical bills to pay. They don't have $1,000 in their bank account. They have nowhere else to turn. Nobody will help them. And we're a lifeline to literally put food on their table, pay their rent, pay their mortgage, pay their car payment, buy school supplies for their kids, and allow them to live. And when you're living like that and you get involved in an accident, your life spirals out of control. And who are you up against on the other side? You're up against a Fortune 500 insurance company whose sole goal is to pay you the least amount of money possible, to drag your case out for as long as you can. And for us to be able to help them out, give them some money to live, to pay their bills, so they can one day get just what they're entitled to. No more and no less.
Yeah. So what does the process look like for somebody that's going to apply for a loan?
Sure. The process is somebody contacts us directly or they contact us through their attorney. We find out a little bit about their case. And again, we're giving them money to live for the basic necessities. We track everything. 95% of the money we give them is for three things: to pay their rent, to pay their mortgage, and to pay their car payments. It's not for anything else. As John knows better than me from representing clients for almost 40 years now, the insurance companies are a formidable opponent. They drag everything out and they wear the clients down, hoping that they'll settle their case for pennies on the dollar. And our goal is to give them the money they need so they can live, to let the lawyers like John do their job and get them the fair value of the case.
And John, you're kind of that starting point. You decide with your clients, obviously they have a case, and then you can determine from there whether they're going to need a loan, and then you put them in touch with Cartiga.
No, it doesn't exactly go like that. I just want to correct the perception of that. Our clients are doing fine until they aren't, and we don't know about it till they tell us. We do not, borrowing against an unsecured asset is, expensive, way more than a bank or a credit card would charge. That's just the nature of lending. You're lending against an unknown. You're lending against to the clients taking out the loan, and they don't have any money, and their personal injury case may not settle, and it may not settle enough to cover the loan. We never discuss loans ever with the client. They'll come to us, or they'll learn about it on the internet, they'll see TV commercials about loans and legal lending, or they'll see it on the internet on a simple Google search, or they'll ask me, and then you have to educate. First of all, like Mike said, what is the number one reason that they ask me for a loan? We never tell them that they're entitled to it, because we don't want the money at high interest rates to go to steal their recovery. I went to University of Michigan Business School. I know all about interest and recovery and return on investments. Please, you can't let the clients get ahead of themselves and put themselves in financial peril at the end of the case. So I have to be their advocate. I have to look out for them. Also, okay, you got to look out to, what are you going to recover? How much is it going to cost you to borrow this money? And will you be able to pay it back with interest? And obviously, get the benefit of your bargain from being injured and being compensated fully, fairly, and adequately.
Yeah. And I think it's important to note that these are non-recourse loans of what we're doing. So if the case does not pan out, the clients do not pay us back. So we're taking a tremendous amount of risk that the only way we're going to get paid back is out of the proceeds of the case. If you have a credit card and you can't pay your credit card back, they'll garnish your wages, they'll take your house. Yeah. Ours is just tied to the personal injury case. Okay. And we tend to be very conservative in the money that we give. We only want to give people money for the right reasons, not for anything else. And we take into account what the value of the case is to make sure that at the end of the day, they're walking away with good money as well.
Yep. And this is all about this timetable. It takes so much time sometimes to settle cases, right? And people just don't have the money to cover their expenses. Maybe describe to us a little bit more about why does it take so long to...
First, can I just interrupt for 1 second, Mike?
Yeah.
I want to go back to a point we were just discussing. The only change, the biggest change between pre-accident and post-accident is they're no longer able to provide for their family. That's where the financial crisis comes in. The insurance company can drag a case out as long as they want. They're entitled to do that. Whether in good faith, not in bad faith, they could lose their law. If they speak to attorneys, insurance companies, and you could be sanctioned for your behavior if it's willful and wanton misconduct. But why our clients need a loan is because a drastic economic change happened because of their injury. That's all I wanted to get across to people listening. Is what Mike previously said, is they can't work anymore. Where legal lending has really gotten out of control is that they weren't working in the first place, and all of a sudden they need money, and now they want to live an extravagant lifestyle. That is which we don't get involved in.
Right. And I think, to your point, John, what part of it is, it's not a fair fight, right? You have an injured person of limited means getting into an accident. Now they're dealing with a sophisticated Fortune 500 insurance company at the other end. If they don't have a fighter in their corner, somebody like Jon Walner at Walner Law, they're going to get steamrolled, and they're going to be given pennies on the dollar, right? And so it takes a good lawyer to represent them, and sometimes it takes a funding company to be able to bridge the gap and give them some money they need to live so they can realize what's the fair value of the case at the end of the day.
So,
I just want to say, Steve,
yeah.
We're upfront and honest with the clients always. What is the fair value of my case? What can I reasonably expect to get before we go to trial? Is there a reasonable value of my case? Do you think the insurance companies will offer near that? And in the meantime, I need to live. I need to feed my family. I got to pay the rent. You never want them displaced out of where they live. You never want their house going to foreclosure. You never want them to file bankruptcy. So we are blessed to have Michael's company behind us, Momentum Legal Finance, because without them, the clients would settle their case for pennies on the dollar. We say to them always, your case is worth $100,000. Please, we're not going to take $75,000. But Mr. Walner, I can't buy food. My kids don't have school supplies. My disability has run out with my company. We've got to settle this case now. We call up Michael, my friend since kindergarten. I promise to all my clients, do I know a loan company? No, I don't know a loan company. I know my best friend that is the CEO and president of a company with hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars that'll back you if I say it's backable. How does Mike know he'll lend to me? I want to tell all my clients or those listeners, because I've been fighting for 10,000 people my whole life. This is what I do. I know the loan's good. I know it's going to be actualized. I know they're going to get paid back. I know the interest is going to pay back, and the client's going to come out with a surplus of money, which he would have been entitled to. Listen, what are we going to do? You're not going to, you have no chance against $1 billion insurance company that could drag your case out for 3 years, and you can't pay rent month to month, and you can't go to the grocery store. Your kids need school supplies. They need money to go on a field trip. That's where my company comes in. And we're blessed to have them. I think every lawyer in the country is blessed to have Michael Pekin of Momentum Legal Finance on their side. Else the insurance companies would be richer and their stockholders would be richer than that because they're never paying any claims out.
Yeah.
It's a vicious circle. And thank God you have tough lawyers like me. We have huge funding companies behind us. And Mike Pekin has been a blessing in my client's life.
Thank you. Thank you.
Are there a couple other questions before we finish up here? I think this is something maybe the listeners might want to know about. Are there reasons why someone couldn't get a loan?
Yeah. If somebody called us up and just wanted money just to, go to Disney World or something, we're not giving them money for that. Or maybe if their case is too early on or too risky. Or they just simply ask for too much money. But quite honestly, the average loan is small. It's $2,500, and it's used for the right reasons. And John and I have seen it because we go back in the legal world, over 30 years of fighting for the 35 years of the underprivileged, the underserved, who can't go to a friend and borrow money, who can't go to a bank and get money, and we're the sole option. And we're proud to be that option because we're doing a lot of help for them fighting up against really tough adversaries.
And Mike, what are legal lending limits? What does that term mean?
There really are no limits. There's limits in certain states where you need a lending license, like in Illinois. But in most states, you can give an unlimited amount of money, to a plaintiff. But that's few and far between where you have catastrophic cases. We've helped people buy houses to make them handicap accessible, or thinking of a woman recently who literally had a leg torn off from being hit by a car in a crosswalk and paying for a very expensive procedure to connect a prosthetic leg to her. But in general, it's average people and average accidents needing money to live until their, fighting lawyers can get their cases resolved. And really all we're doing is leveling the playing field and making it a fair fight.
Yeah. All right. John, any more comments?
I just want to be transparent to the audience and let the audience know, we are not going to fund you to go to Disney World. We are not going to give you a black car to go to a concert. We want you to know that you have to pay this money back, and it is costing you interest. So I am a guiding light for them to explain, this isn't the lottery. This isn't the lottery. You have been economically devastated. You have had your ability to pay your rent and your food taken away from you. You are injured. We're going to get you money to provide for you for the rest of your life. But don't take money from yourself knowing that we're going to get you recovery down the line and go on a whirlwind vacation or buy a Mercedes, expensive car.
We vet that very carefully. And so we want to make sure that they walk away with significant money at the end and they're using the money for the right reasons. So everyone is not a candidate.
Yeah.
The person is not a candidate when they ask for a loan on the first day. Then we know things aren't going to go well for me. So once we hear, Ms. Walner, can I get a loan for $10,000? I'm like, we don't even know your injuries. Let me review your MRIs, your CAT scans. Let me talk to some of the nurses and treating doctors. Let's lock up liability here before you because if I do get you recovery, this loan could saddle you and not make and you won't have the money that you thought you were having because you spent it all just now.
Yeah.
That's what we do. We have to be good listeners and we have to relate to the client and deliver that to them in a calm way that they understand so they don't get financially and over their head also to a loan company. But on the other hand, you need the loan company to fight for them. So we're grateful for them. We're grateful for Mike to come in and speak with us about it. We're grateful for Momentum Legal Finance, for our clients to
And
level the playing
we're
field.
proud to be a partner and help out clients of Walner Law, clients of thousands of law firms throughout the country.
Right.
And we're here to help because I was a trial lawyer for 15 years before I got into this business. And I know what it's like to represent people that literally had to borrow money to come down to see you at your office.
Mike and I tried a case when we were young lawyers together. we had friends we grew up with in a car accident. They pulled onto the Lakeshore Drive. They're coming from Lincoln Park. The hood of their car popped up a little. They pulled to the side of the road. They're trying to get the hood down, and they're smashed from behind. Insurance company, offered them zero money, and that was fun. Mike and I tried this case and got them the money they deserved. But we had to go to trial. So right away, we're seeing a case. This is our family, our friends are receiving no justice, despite that they were well off, college educated. They were giving these guys the business. They did nothing wrong, and they're injured as a fault of others. Think about that. That it is equal opportunity, that insurance companies will put down anyone, will crush you and make you go to trial sometimes to get financially compensated. It is a war out there, and that's where Momentum comes in to say, all right, we're going to have a fair fight with you. Look what's going on in Ukraine and Russia. Without the United States backing, Ukraine would be a parking lot right now. And that's the United States, through our compassion, and coming from a democratic nation that we live in, like these people are suffering through no fault of their own. They're a democracy fighting a communist government but we're giving them billions of dollars to level the playing field to save their own country, to save their people, their grandchildren, their children, and their loved ones. Think about it. We're actually going to war against insurance companies, and we have the benefit of Momentum on our client side.
Right.
Michael,
Tremendous analogy, John. I couldn't have said it any better.
Well, thanks for coming
What
in.
a great way to...
And John, if somebody wants to hire you, how do they get a hold of you?
Call 312-8-million. 8 all zeros. Text us or call us or visit us at walnerlaw.com. We'll answer any and all questions. We consult with you for free. We go through the whole case for free. We never turn. We'll always give you free advice, and you'll hear the truth and transparency from Walner Law, and we'll fight for what you deserve. And I appreciate you listening, and I appreciate the opportunity that you brought Mike Pekin and I together for this wonderful discussion, and we're blessed to have you in our lives, Mike, and thank you for being a good friend and family.
Thank you, Mike, for being here.
Thanks for having me.
And once again, thank you for joining us. If you have any subjects that you'd like us to talk about in the next podcast, we'd love to hear from you. So please reach out to us. And thanks again for joining us. We had a really nice conversation here with John and Mike. Have a great day.